Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the IGEL Community Podcast, episode number 93, Seb. We're 7 away from 100.
Yes, we almost made it. What will happen after the 100?
You and I have kind of dropped the ball a little bit on the community side, so it's more Andy and Chris Feeney who have been jacking up the numbers. I looked it up. You and I haven't done a podcast since February 6th.
But we're still speaking about this year, right?
Yes, so we have to get a whole lot better at getting together and having these chats. You know, it's funny. I really enjoy doing them. So it really comes down to scheduling conflicts with you're in Germany, I'm in North America, and just trying to get the right time because you're busy, I'm busy. So it's a scheduling conflict that I think I'll take on responsibility for bugging you a bit more about getting on your calendar.
That's totally fine. We can just make a fixed date out of it and try to follow it. I mean, we all know that the calendars are pretty booked out, but yeah, we definitely need to get on pace. But count on me, I will be there, I promise.
Even though we haven't done a podcast since February, you and I met in person, when was it, 3 weeks ago?
During our common vacation, right? When we spent some time on the Bahamas together.
Yeah. I don't know about that. But so that was 3 weeks ago, yeah? 4 weeks ago?
No, it's more. It's more or less 4 weeks. It was on 1st of May, if I remember right. So it's between 3 and 4 weeks already.
Okay. And for the people who don't know what we're talking about the IGEL Disrupt conference that we just came back from that was held in sunny Florida in Miami. And it was quite an event. 2.5, 3 full days of IGEL awesomeness. And we're going to cover a little bit here today, kind of a recap of what was announced. And there was a ton of announcements. So before we get into the announcements, what was your thoughts on the event? Good, bad, ugly, fun, not so fun, awesome, location?
Are you expecting me to say something bad about an IGEL event? I'm not that crazy. Nah, kidding. No, it was way better than the event that we had last year in Nashville. The location was good. It was more crowded, I would say, than the last years. I saw more customers than partners, which isn't a good thing per se, but it helped to better understand what the market is needing besides what our resellers are needing. And no, the event was, I would say, very well organized. The agenda was on time. The agenda was published on time. That's a couple of things that we mentioned last year. And obviously the community got a really cool area, which we didn't have last year's. And that's something that we definitely need to spot on during our podcast, because that was an amazing part of the whole event, I would say. I don't know how you felt on this, but I enjoyed it a lot.
I couldn't agree more. The location was 100 times better than Nashville. You know, Nashville's a cool city, don't get me wrong. The facility in Nashville was out of this world, but there's a lot to be said about, waking up every morning in the sun and going to a conference. But let's double click on the community area that was at the event in Miami. I was kind of blown away when I walked up to it. I'm like, whoa, this whole area is for the community. We had our own stage, we had our own hangout area, our own bar, our own games. So maybe kind of give us behind the scenes as to what it takes to actually get that, to make it a reality, to build out the community area at an event like Disrupt.
I have a great marketing team supporting us, to be clear.
Mr. Gershenko?
Nothing. Yes, exactly. I mean, without that team, nothing could have been done as we did during the Disrupt event. And that's something, not saying that the team who was in charge of the Disrupt events before them were bad, but I must say that it was really well organized, and they were extremely supportive in terms of community. So getting that launched, fixed and organized, getting the arcade station for gaming organized, getting the happy hour happening on our own area. I couldn't be happier. I wasn't even expecting that something like this could happen at IGEL, but we made it, right? It's not something that Renee and myself did. It's everyone who is part of the community made this stage successful. Because if we would have 100 people in the community and no one would interact with each other, then believe me, we would not have get such a big stage to discuss the community topics. So great job of everyone. But I must say a big thanks to Carl and team, because they're, even the sneakers. Do you remember the yellow sneakers, the Nike Airs?
Those are cool.
They're just great.
For the audience, I'm not a sneakerhead. My son is. They were Jordan 3s or something, but they were IGELified. They had the IGEL colors on them. They were fantastic looking.
It's exactly, and the new logo even was printed on it. It was, it was just perfect.
So let me ask you a question. I'm going to put you on the spot. So we had this phenomenal community area. It was well attended. People, good feedback about it. But as Mr. Community, this time next year when you're coming off the heels of Disrupt 2025 in Arizona or Austin, Texas, wherever you guys go, what would you change about the community area?
I would get more firework, I would say.
Fireworks?
Yeah, not kidding. That would be my wish, if you ask me. Now, to be honest, I like the way how we dealt with it, but it's just a small thing that I would like to change is maybe the location of the area. The area was amazing. But at the same time, we had the expo hall, which was crowded by people who went to our sponsors, to other vendors. And that's where most of the people were hanging around. I mean, most of them were also in the community lounge, but bringing both together, bringing the exhibit hall and the community lounge together would be the only thing that I would maybe do differently next year, and do less PowerPoint for the award session. But the award session is a topic that we might cover in a second with you, right? But
yes,
that's the two things. The award session could have been also handled better by us because it was an happy hour happening. Everyone jumped into the queue for getting a drink. And yeah, I mean, you are so important people, the insider, the VIPs, fellows, member of the year, that I had the feeling that we didn't got the attention that you important people should have deserved. And that's something that I would like to change for Munich, but also for the event next year.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I remember when we did it in Nashville, the award ceremony was actually on the big stage,
Exactly.
And so I get what you're saying. The location wasn't ideal. So if I'm reading between the lines here, did you just say you'd like to have the community pavilion inside the main hall?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Main hall or the exhibit hall. That would both help, I would say. And that would also a little bit drive more discussions. I mean, we were lucky to have people from World of End User Computing joining us, or the people from the Omnisa End User Computing Expert Group who were there and had open panel discussion with René and myself on the community stage. But still, we always can do better, right? And we can't say it was perfect. It was really good, but having more people, having more discussions, and having all this community spirit transport a little bit more efficiently, that would have make me even more happier. But again, it's really complaining on an extremely high level, and it's just saying it's a kind of a German approach. We can always do better, and that's my two takeaways, I would say.
But yeah, that's human nature. As good as things are, we always find a way to complain about something. That's why I asked the question. I give you that podium to complain, even though it was a fantastic event. But one thing I want to touch on real quick before we move away from the community pavilion is I walked up there, I don't know what it was, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, and there was music on, and I wasn't paying any attention. Maybe I was talking to you or Ron or somebody. But then this music in the background, I ended up kind of looking around, and there was somebody on stage singing, phenomenal singer. I'm like, man, this guy has some pipes. Then I looked a bit closer, and wasn't it our own, I'm going to butcher his last name, Mike
Weihrauch.
Yes.
Weihrauch. It's a German man, but the guy is 100% American. But it's Mike Weihrauch, one of the 2 members team of the IGEL Academy. And you might have heard his voice already in all the courses that you have seen on the IGEL Academy. And I mean, let's be honest, I wouldn't introduce him to my wife. I mean, he's good looking, he can sing well. No, not a good idea.
Yeah. So like his music was unbelievable, and I got talking to him afterwards, and I guess I assumed he was playing in small bars in his hometown, but he's actually on Spotify, the whole work. So we'll throw something in the link for this show where you can check out Mike's music and listen to his if you liked hearing his voice during the ICP training, the ICE training, wait till you hear him on Spotify. So kudos to you, Mike
Weihrauch.
Yes.
Honestly, that's my way of pronouncing it, but I'm pretty sure if you are someone in the US, they will use another pronunciation than I do. But the name itself is coming from Germany initially, but it's a long time ago, apparently.
Yeah, it's kind of off topic, but it's funny. When I arrived at the hotel, I took an Uber from the airport, so I pulled up and real tinted windows in the Uber. So I just hopped out, and some guy was trying to hop in at the same time. I'm like, man, how rude! I didn't say it out loud, but I'm like, how rude are you? And all of a sudden, hey Barry, and wasn't that Mike hopping out of trying to climb into my Uber as I was getting in? So it shows you kind of how small of a little community we have. It's phenomenal. So that was pretty funny. Okay, so let's move on and talk about some of the announcements at Disrupt. So the way that Carl kind of packaged it up, or not Carl, sorry, Klaus packaged it up was there's 20 key announcements. So I'm just going to list them off real quick, and then maybe you and I can deep dive into a few of the announcements that are interesting to me. All the announcements kind of hit different verticals or different technologies, but there's some that kind of hit close to home for me. So we'll dive into those a little bit. So the first announcement is IGEL native apps, 50 applications available in the IGEL app portal. Number 2 is native Citrix enterprise browser, which is a big one. Citrix took a good chunk of time on the stage to go over the technology involved in this and how it can be leveraged on an IGEL endpoint. Number 3 is Citrix and IGEL SASE solution provided by NetScaler. I am not a networking guy, so that's kind of a bit over my head. So obviously we're not going to talk about that one. Number 4 is interesting to me, the Microsoft Frontline Worker Support. I don't have it in my notes set to talk about that one. But if you know anything about that, maybe now's a good time to kind of pipe in a little bit.
So I'm not a Microsoft expert at all, right? We have other people at IGEL in the community who does a way better job than I do. But Microsoft Frontline, if I remember right, is the way how Microsoft is handling the state of the virtual machine that you're trying to access. So they are not shut down anymore, but more the kind of asleep, and they are booted up as soon as you access the resource, and will be shut down as soon as you are not using the resource anymore. So it's a way to get more cost-efficient access to your AVD area. And that's what Frontline, at least for myself, I might be incorrect by our listeners, is meaning.
Okay. So moving on to number 5 is the Microsoft Azure Stack HCI support. Big deal there. Number 6 is the Broadcom beta. I'm not sure what that entirely means, whether that's the Omnisit piece, beta Omnisit client on IGEL OS. Number 7 hits pretty close to my heart, the Island browser native application. As you see later on when we start talking about Island, I'm pretty bullish on that technology. It's a bit of a game changer. Number 8,
it's an amazing piece of software, by the way.
Yes. T755 multi-screen support. Number 9 is HP Poly support. The list is going on. Number 10, fast user switching for Citrix, Broadcom, and AVD. Big deal there. Fast user switching is always asked about in any customers I talk to with regards to IGEL OS. Number 11, the IGEL agent for Imprivata. Huge in healthcare. I don't think there's very few healthcare organizations I talk to who are not Imprivata customers. It gives you that native tap and go experience for the physicians, saves tons of time during a clinical day, anywhere between, I'd say, 30 minutes and an hour per day by being able to leverage that tap and go technology. Number 12, IGEL App Creator Portal. I'm not going to comment on that one because we're going to deep dive into it, but that's an interesting one to me. Number 13, something that was asked for a number of times in the community is the IGEL OS 12 modern user interface. And for Leon, who's in the community, that doesn't mean just dark mode. There's a little more to it than that. Number 14 is another big one for enterprise organizations, is the IGEL app for Microsoft Intune and support for conditional access for Azure AD, or now, as people are calling it, or as Microsoft is calling it, Entra ID. Number 15, IGEL Lenovo AI enablement. 16, Lenovo's in here quite a bit. Lenovo IGEL solution for Azure Stack HCI. Number 17 is HP MT645G8 multi-touch. I think the marketing guys could have done a little better job on that bullet point. Number 18 I want to talk about is the IGEL Insights. 19, IGEL support for Uber Agent, which we all know now is owned by Citrix.
On Linux. Yes, finally.
And the last one is LG Digital Signage. So those are the 20 key announcements that came out of Disrupt 2024. Quite some important ones, but some of them I want to dive into a little deeper. And let's start with the IGEL App Creator Portal. So I think what it is pretty self-descriptive, but if maybe, Seb, you can dive into it a little bit and explain why this is important and why it's good for IGEL users, IGEL community, and enterprises at large.
Definitely. So I'm glad you say that it's self-explaining, but the title itself can also be extremely misleading. So that's a good thing that we had the chance to talk about this. So I have to go a little bit into the history of IGEL, and then we'll go back to the future. So let's stay on what we did on IGEL OS 11. Yeah, more or less. Not that far. If you think back on the IGEL OS 11 operating system, we had the custom partition. Custom partitions were basically a portable version of an application. So if you wanted to deploy, let's say, Zoom locally, you had to create a custom partition, deploy to your device, and recreate this procedure on every update. Now, this procedure would also work on OS 12. Don't get me wrong, but that's not the approach that IGEL tries to follow. We have now our own apps, so we don't have this monolithic approach of firmware. We have a modular firmware where you can integrate single apps. And why not giving you as a customer or a technology partner the chance to create your own apps based on our SDK? That's one way. Our second way is to create a receipt. It's basically a kind of an automated way of creating an app by a script. This procedure is mostly being handled in the IGEL community by Browne, by the GitHub page, or based on the IGEL community. And this receipt is then being uploaded together with the binaries that are needed to create this app into a web page. And that's what the IGEL App Creator Portal is. It's a web page with a system backend where both files are getting put together. And at the end, it will create an app for you. Now you might ask, but why couldn't I create the app by my own and don't go through the App Creator Portal? Good question. Easy answer. It would not work. For one simple reason, we are signing the packages, right? So we want to keep the IGEL operating system secure, and that's why we are not giving away our keys. We say we want to keep it secure, so you have to upload it. We create a signature for you, and then you can deploy it on your own environment by using the IGEL community key, so to say. And that's how we can keep an eye and a control on what is deployed. That's one thing, but that's not the major focus. But we also want to understand what is the market needing, right? Because if someone is asking, 1,000 times a specific application, let's call it, Notepad++ for Linux. Then we should reach out to that vendor and ask if you wouldn't be interested in getting an app created and integrated properly into an app hub. And that's the major difference. Hope it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense to me. So a couple of follow-up questions. One is, that's fine for commercial applications where you can package them up and upload them to the app portal and have them be signed by IGEL. What if I'm a 100-person company and I have a line of business application that was developed in-house, Linux-based, and on paper it should work? Is it the same concept? Whether it's a 100,000 user application or a small one, as long as it meets the requirements of IGEL OS, it should work.
It's exactly true. So we will give you the chance to create your own receipt, or with the help of the IGEL community, mostly around there, we will try to create a receipt for you if possible, and then you can use your own app in your own environment and deploy it in the same way, because deploying in a custom application is a really resource-intensive process, which isn't the case if you use the app, because the app is just downloaded in the background. It will be deployed after the reboot. You don't have to create some extremely funny Linux commands. No, it's everything in the app, everything in our IGEL logic. And that's the main difference to what we had on custom partitions. And custom partitions were not signed, right? I mean, let's imagine the worst case scenario, and between the moment where you get the custom partition, the moment where you deploy it, someone injects code into that custom partition. No one would know. And that's what we changed with this signage of the app.
Okay, follow-up question to that. Just so from a XenTegra perspective, I manage our XenTegra IGEL fleet. If I create a custom XenTegra application, it doesn't matter what it is, and I upload it, does that now become a private application within the XenTegra app portal, or does it go into the public one, or how do you decide where it ends up?
So to be clear, we do not want to take any data out of it and upload it somewhere. So it's always in your own hand. And even the data itself will not be used or uploaded to any IGEL systems. To be even more precise, after the app creation process, every one of your data will be deleted from the virtual machine where it will happen. So you will have it in your own UMS. You can upload it and deploy it in your own private space of the app hub, so to say. But you will have to reach out to us if you want to get it published, to get it also verified and signed by IGEL, so you are able to integrate it in the general app hub. But it's always in your own.
Okay. So maybe I'm not fully understanding. So when you say it's within my environment, is that a private web app portal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's your private area where you can upload your own apps, and which is only accessible to you as a company.
Understood. That's cool. The recipes you're talking about, is it similar to, we have the binaries plus like I'm calling the instructions files, same concept as custom partition. You define, requirements and make sure they're in place, and then, deployment happens by reading like a JSON or a YAML file or something like that.
It is a little bit more complex than what we had on the community on the custom partition side, but basically yes, it's a kind of set of procedure, and you will also have the chance to interact with it if needed. And I'm pretty sure, even if it's not confirmed yet, but that we will provide trainings on this, training in the community, training in the IGEL Academy, so people can start developing, because that's basically also the goal, right, of the SDK. We do not want to keep the knowledge for us. In the best way, our customers, our partners are creating the apps, and we just get at the end the information, hey, there is something working, please check it and publish it into the public app hub. So that would say the goal on the mid to long term. And just to give you an internal insight, I will not tell who said that, but there was a pretty ambitious goal to get about 800 apps in the app portal. I will not tell until which moment. If you ask me, I would say a decade, but it was a way shorter time than a decade. But just to give you an idea where we want to go.
Okay. So the app portal was announced at Disrupt. When is it going to be GA, I guess, for lack of a better word? Or is it already GA?
No, it's not already GA. It's an early stage at the moment. And without pinning me on that statement, please, it's something that I can just give you as a rough idea. It should be around Disrupt in Munich. So let's call it September. Let's say yes. Let's say autumn of 2024.
Okay. For me, that was one of the biggest announcements I've seen come out of Disrupt. The power of doing enterprise applications within your own environment. So I think there's going to be a lot of customers out there looking to package up their line of business applications as an IGEL application, and it's going to be exciting times ahead, I think, as people realize the power of this app portal.
Yeah. I mean, let's maybe just pick up another example. Let's imagine that Citrix is asking you to integrate the latest Citrix Workspace app version, which is not even available to IGEL, which usually doesn't happen, but let's imagine. So you can package your own Citrix Workspace app and deploy it as a temporary package to your device only for testing. I mean, that's pretty neat, right?
Yeah, 100%. Oh, yeah, actually, no, I was going to change topics there, but I have another question. I publish a private application to my private app store. I think I'm going to answer my own question, but am I on the hook for keeping it up to date? The answer is yes, right?
Yes.
Because it's my application.
Absolutely right.
Got it. Understood.
Yes. And since we do not keep track on what you are doing with the application, which from a data privacy reason is really good, we are not also keeping track of the updates. So that's something, the receipt part inside of the community. I will not talk for Ron because he sent us his own feed, and I don't want to take too much, but I'm pretty sure that he will try to keep an eye on this and check if there is a new version showing up. But still, it's not something which is part of the standard app creator portal. Okay,
just a follow-up question on that. It's comparing to the Apple App Store. So from what I know, I'm not a developer, so from what I understand is if I upload an application to be approved by the Apple App Store, it goes through some kind of QA check, making sure there's no malicious code. Is that the same for the IGEL app portal? Is somebody going to look at the actual code and make sure there's no nastiness going on here?
Absolutely. And that's how our actual IGEL Ready partners are handling it. So I'm just talking about a couple of them. But let's say Controller, like an example. They got the SDK. They created something on their own. They provided the app to us. We double-checked the app. And then it was published to the general app hub. And that's, I mean, not saying we have the same quality assurance process as Apple. I'm pretty sure we aren't. But we are trying to keep extremely secure.
That's the name of the game for enterprise. Top of mind for everybody these days is security, right? So it's good to know that our friends at IGEL are kind of doing a sanity check, if you will. Let's change gears. Let's talk about the modern interface for OS 12. I saw it, on the big screen, but I've had put my fingers on a keyboard to use it. So what is this modern interface other than dark mode we mentioned earlier, which looked kind of cool, by the way?
So before going into the detail, who said finally? I guess everyone.
Everybody in the community.
No, just kidding. Yeah. I mean, if you look, I'm always making the joke, right? If you look at the IGEL OS 11, which, if you ask me, isn't the big difference to what we got in the early versions of IGEL OS 12, because it's the same window manager, it's pretty German. It's functional. It's gray. It's not that funny. It doesn't look that good, but it functions well.
Well engineered.
And that's
right?
Exactly. But that's what we changed now. So no, it's not fast anymore. It's not secure anymore, but it looks good. No, kidding. No, not at all. Now, we had the chance, by the way, in the Agile community to influence the modern desktop. I don't know if you remember, Barry, but we had a survey where the poll started in the Agile community where our product managers asked us, would you like to go route A or route B on the desktop design? Mm-hmm. And guess what? The community, I would say, didn't make the decision alone, but influenced to 90% this decision. And we went down the route to get this floating panel approach. And basically, everything would change. So the window manager, which is XFCE for those of our listeners who are interested in the technical background, we will switch to a modern HTML5 desktop, which you can't imagine what it enables us to do. Because now that we have an HTML5 engine behind it, we can modify more or less everything which is related to the graphical user interface. XFCE was, as mentioned, extremely fast. It was powerful, but it didn't allow a lot of customization. And that's where the modern desktop would help, because we will switch from this XFCE window manager to something new. And it will open the doors to get better tray apps, to get better sorting solutions. I mean, I don't want to talk for our dev people, but let's imagine, and that's one of my wishes, that you can finally sort your icons on your desktop as you wish, that you can create folders on your desktop and use it as a real operating system on your endpoint, and say that some of your icons can be moved on the top corner, then you can re-enumerate them on the desktop. Everything that I'm mentioning is now possible. I'm not sure if we will integrate it from the beginning on, but besides looking great, it will allow us to modify and customize the desktop 1,000 times better than what we did before.
So I got to ask that question, Seb. So we saw it on the stage. When is it coming? Is it 12.5, 12.6, or unknown? I'll give you an out. Is it unknown?
The connection between Canada and Germany is getting pretty poor. I can't hear you that much anymore.
Just say TBD. TBD.
No, I have a rough plan in mind. We are not talking about years.
Okay,
but we're talking about a couple of months, and it's definitely planned to get it at end of this year or at the beginning of next year. That's what I can tell you at the moment.
Very cool.
Maybe sooner. It may be at Disrupt in Munich, but you didn't hear it from myself. I wasn't there, and I never mentioned it.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. I'm not going to be in Munich, so you're going to have to, lead the show when after Munich and come through up with the 20 things they talked about there, and we'll have another podcast. But that's a future episode. I want to talk now about another announcement that was announced, was the IGEL app for Intune and support for conditional access with Enter ID. So that's quite a sentence. Let's break it down. What does it mean?
So let's go back again to the past. So we never could join a domain from a Linux device. I mean, there is a couple of scripts out there how to join it, but if you look at IGEL OS 5, 10, 11, communicating with the Active Directory was always logging into the Active Directory and use your credentials to get a pass-through or get a Kepler authentication happening. It also applied to IGEL OS 12, right? And if you look at your local Active Directory controller on Windows 2003 or 2012, everything is fine, right? But if you look at AVD and Azure Active Directory, it's not working anymore. So that's where we said only logging in is good, but we need more, since Microsoft is offering way more features if you can specify which kind of devices are allowed to access your environment. And that's what the conditional access was hitting us at, I would say, beginning of last year, the first time really in some enterprise projects where people said, we do need to understand which device contacts our environment and needs to filter out based on the firmware, based on different conditions. And that's where this small app is really helping a lot, because it creates for the first time a connector between what we have in Azure and what we have locally. And now you as the customer, you as the partner can really create granular rules who can access your environment. And that's how we are getting around all this security stuff by using an own Intune app developed with Microsoft, by the way, because we have a strong partnership with them. And thanks to Jürgen Schneider, Frederick Bradstick, we are there quite regularly, and we are getting the latest SDK developments from Microsoft. So that's also part of this huge project.
So for any customers, enterprises out there that are have held off on using IGEL OS in their enterprise simply because they may not have that visibility, the logging that you would get, that argument is now null and void simply due to the Entra ID integration, where these endpoints will check in with the cloud and log and say, I booted up at 10:59 a.m. It's the logging you would expect from any kind of enterprise grade operating system.
Yes.
Awesome. This next one, Island Enterprise Browser, is coming native to IGEL OS. So this is cool for me. So at XenTegra, we use Island for a lot of our stuff. And for those people who don't know out there, Island is an enterprise grade browser. So we talk about enterprise grade antivirus operating systems. Now we have an enterprise grade browser. So I'm not going to try and steal any thunder about the Island product. If you're interested in learning more, let me know, and I can put somebody in touch with you who can walk you through. But it's a phenomenal product. But the question for you, Seb, is why did, maybe you know or maybe you don't know, is why did IGEL decide to partner with Island to make this a native browser within the operating system?
Guess what? I asked the same question when we started the first discussions with Island and .io. And to be absolutely honest, I wasn't knowing that solution that much. So I was thinking, why adding another browser to our operating system? Since we already have Firefox, we have Chrome. And guess what? We are also in touch to get Edge integrated. So why adding something else? And I was talking to a couple of customers before getting the answer of our product managers. And then it made sense to me. If you think about all the overhead of administration that you have to put into your browser configuration to access your software as a service applications, and I'm only talking about Microsoft Office, but you could go through Slack, you could go through whatever else solution like Salesforce, and everything is browser related, even the new Outlook, even if it's not a separate web app anymore, but it's in a frame of an app, but it's also a web application. And having all this configuration being done on every configuration on IGEL, having your browser being updated, new security policies to take place, and then you have all the debugging part also. If something is not happening, did you set the proper permission? Is access to your webcam and audio devices regulated as you would like to get it in your enterprise environment? What do you do if the person is working from home? Guess what? That's where we can do the job, but there are partners out there who are doing that in a fraction of a second. That's what Island.io is giving me. It's a really pure sandbox browser managed solution for everyone who wants to get secured access to every SaaS or web browser based application that you would like to get.
Yeah. And so, in my previous role, I was, knees deep or elbows deep into, group policy, managing endpoints. So, managing Chrome or Edge from a GPO perspective, no problem. It works on Windows. If you also have a fleet of IGEL devices and now you've deployed Chrome as a custom partition, you can't manage that with GPO. The beauty of the IGEL browser, GPO goes away. You manage it through the Island administrative console, and now it becomes endpoint agnostic. I can manage my Island browser on a cell phone, on my Android device, on IGEL OS, Windows, Linux, you name it, because, like I said, it's endpoint agnostic, super, super powerful. And I'm thrilled to see it come to IGEL OS. I know Andy, who listens to the podcast, he's been making some noise about getting it deployed internally on our IGEL devices. So Andy, it's a work in progress. It's coming.
And I'm truly believing that it might release the last Netscape version that I installed on my Windows PC.
Netscape?
Nah, kidding.
I just off topic. You're probably old enough to remember. Do you remember ICQ?
Yes.
They turned off the last servers 2 weeks ago.
I know. I heard this. I must say, I didn't start the client anymore, but I have seen the news and I'm getting old.
Yeah. Do you remember that? Whoever came up with the sound in ICQ back in the day, they deserve a raise.
Yeah, definitely. You will never forget it.
Yeah. Coming to the end here, just a few things I want to kind of wrap up with, Seb. In the last, 2-3 months within the IGEL community, I'm seeing talk of the IGEL app playground. Maybe tell us what this is, what its purpose is, and why it exists.
So to make it clear, we want to keep things secret. We want to have a kind of a secret app store, which no one can access beside us. Not kidding. What we are trying to do is obviously to test internally new versions to get access to early versions of the software. So we are not deploying them to the official app hub for a simple reason. Partially they're on the NDA, so the content, the app, the testing, the code, or we do not want people who are not knowing what they do to just deploy a release candidate version of a software and break down the whole enterprise environment. Let's be honest, people in an enterprise environment usually know what they are doing. But still, so we didn't want to go down that route, and that's why we separated our internal and the external app hub to two different sections. And the internal one is what we call the Play Store. So that's where our playground is happening. That's where we are getting our technical previews, our release candidates, or SC versions of the IGEL OS base system, or new Citrix Workspace app technical preview that we just freshly got from Citrix. And guess what? Sometimes it's pretty buggy because it didn't went through the QA process. Mm-hmm. It was just thrown away to keep away one specific issue or to reproduce one specific use case. And that's why we said, honestly, let's keep it for us and let's push it out to the community or to the market as soon as we are ready. Now, what we are trying to do, and that's something which I'm still working on, and we had an IGEL Community Insider call. So the insiders are a very special group of people, IGEL employees, IGEL customers, IGEL partners, and distributors worldwide, who went awarded one time a year to get an insider status. And what we are trying to do now is to get them, and obviously to you also, Barry, as you are part of this insider and VIP group, to get access to the playground. So you can test by your own these use cases. And guess what? We are extremely thankful for that, because you will give us feedback, because you will have this specific Netscaler version combined with this specific controller, which we do not have in our environment. So if you say, hey, I just said it briefly, but I found a bug in this specific communication area, just double check. Maybe I'm not the only one. That's what we are looking for. And also giving you the chance to test the version and check if we can solve your issue that you're having before waiting for the final version of the app.
Right. So it's not one of those creatively named tools where it's a playground for testing your code.
Yeah.
If you equate playgrounds with fun and coding with fun, it's named correctly.
Correct.
But you said something interesting in the last comments there, Seb, that I want to transition into real quick is the awards they're giving out yearly. So, coming off the back of Disrupt, a whole new batch of awards were given out. Maybe walk us through the whole award program. How do people get involved with the award program? What are the awards? And we'll go from there.
Very good question. So to be clear, we never had a real rule set until this year, and we're still growing, right? So it's nothing in the community is final. We're just trying to find a new way to get people awarded. And usually, if you are active in the community, if you are helping more than others, if you are creating content inside but also outside of the IGEL community, talking about blogs, talking about podcasts, talking about short videos, documentations, that's what usually brings us to nominate you as an insider. But we also introduce a couple of new ways. So you can now get an application to become an insider, so filling out a form, and we are reviewing it and check if, you're fulfilling this requirement, or if you're maybe someone extremely important in your own geographic area and you have a lot of contacts where we can cross-promote ourselves. That's another approach. And the last one is also a new way that existing insiders can nominate someone to become an insider. And basically, we put all of this together in a rule set. It's more kind of a playground that we have, and we just want to keep some rules happening, even they're pretty wide. And from there, you are getting an insider. So we went through the award session during the Disrupt event. And now we are going through the legal process of getting the NDA signed and all that stuff. And after that, you will get access to a closed channel where only insiders, a closed and private channel inside of Slack. You will get access to NDA information like our internal product management weekly report. You will get access to direct download links to private builds, exclusive discussions with product managers once a quarter. We are also adding the Agile Ready team to that equation, hopefully at next quarter, and having also open discussion with different developers depending on the use case. And you get also access to early access programs. Like if we launch a new product, we didn't have the chance to do it for the display configuration tray app, but everything upcoming will be handed first to the Agile Insider group, asking who wants to help and who wants to test, and getting then your feedback.
And you missed one important piece, Seb. You get one of these cool trophies that I'm pointing out over my head here. I think I 1, 2, 3.
That's only for the VIPs.
Oh, is it? Okay. Sorry about that.
It's only for the VIPs. You're right. You're getting a cool certificate if you're becoming an insider, but if you're becoming VIP, you get a trophy.
Right. So, just to kind of wrap that up, the best way to if you're interested in becoming an IGEL insider, an IGEL VIP, is just get involved, get in the community where we don't fight. What is it, 11,000 strong now, Seb? And if you're curious about IGEL, curious about the technology, or just want to have a chit chat, it's the place to be. It's where all the cool kids hang out. Yeah.
Agree. That's where the fun is happening, and never forget that. We are close to 12,000 people. Wow. Let's be honest. Also, 12,000 people are not active day in, day out, right?
Sure.
But we have a really core team of, let's say, 400 users over the week who are exchanging ideas and changing question, answers, content. And I'm always telling the community is like a trade fair at the bar in the evening time where people are hanging around and having fun discussion about tech. And it doesn't have to belong only to IGEL. It can be a Citrix discussion. It can be an AVD discussion. It can be also something else like on photovoltaic solutions, like we did a couple of days ago, Barry, where you was asking about the sun power.
Yeah.
That's what we are doing. And you're not obliged to answer everything. Just be there, be kind, be helpful, and that's how you are getting an insider extremely easily.
Yeah, and even kind of take it a step beyond that. So David Prowse, who's a member of the Insider Group, and I think a fellow. So him and I have become pretty good friends. We've only met in person 2 or 3 times, but at Disrupt this year, we went out for dinner just to meet him and a couple of his colleagues from his office and my wife. And we went out for a casual dinner. There was very little IGEL talk, and just you build camaraderie over the years within the community. So it's a really really cool place to hang out.
It is.
So with Disrupt North America in the rearview mirror, we're now looking at Disrupt Munich coming up in the September timeframe. But I'm also hearing rumors about Disrupt Roadshow. So I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but I think it's more for the listeners that if you're not able to get to Miami or not able to get to Munich, keep an eye on the IGEL socials, IGEL community, and I suspect there's going to be some announcements about the IGEL Roadshow that's coming to a city near you. I know there's going to be one in North America that I plan to attend. And when I say North America, I mean Canada land in the Great White North. So I'll be there. Once the dates are announced, it'll be all over my LinkedIn to certainly drive people to come out, attend the event, learn about IGEL, meet yours truly. Won't be able to meet you, Seb. That'll wait for when they go to Germany. But so a bit of a teaser more than anything about the roadshow. Any final thoughts, Seb, before we call it a podcast? This is a long one for us, 43 minutes and counting.
And we again forget to get through the most important part of our podcast. Which German word would you like to get?
I was thinking about that earlier. It's Mike's last name, Mike Weihrauch.
Okay, then we'll do it the last time. Weihrauch. Very good.
Next time I talk to Mike, I'm going to pronounce it like that.
That's close to perfect. But I guess if you just call him Mike, it would be more than fine.
Right. I think he's happy when I call him Mike.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, with that, let's call this an episode, Seb. Number, 93 is in the books. Looking forward to 95 is going to be us because Andy's going to do 94. And we'll keep it as regular as we can. But good chatting with you, my friend, and we'll talk soon.
Same to me.
See you. Take care.